Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This year is entitled Chinuch, Educating Our Children, a halachic overview. We'll discuss a few points in terms of the mitzvah for the Raita, for the biblical mitzvah of Chinuch, the rabbinic mitzvah of Chinuch. We'll start first with the mitzvah of Purim, which we just finished a few days ago. Fascinating question, when a person has to bring his child, her child, to shul to hear Megillah reading. So I say it's a pretty simple question, like all other mitzvahs of chinuch. So how all the mitzvahs of chinuch work? When a child is old enough to do the mitzvah, 6, 7, 8, give or take a few years, each child, according to his level and according to the mitzvah, which is usually those years, 6, 7, and 8. Well, why a question by Megillah Esther? So the fact is, the Ritva points out, and the Gemara and Sukkah points out, that the age of chinuch is when the child could do the mitzvah properly, according to the halacha. It's not be'erech about. It's when he could do the mitzvah. Precisely. So then if that's the case, not so simple when it comes to Megillah Esther. Megillah Esther is not a simple mitzvah. It means listening for 30, 40, 50 minutes straight, hearing every single word. You miss one word, you're not yosef the mitzvah. It's more severe than benching. It's more severe than the brachot of Shema. More severe than Shemona Esrei. In those mitzvot, if you miss a word or two or three, it still could be that you are yotze the bracha of Birkat Hamazon, you yotze the brachos of Shemona Esrei. It's wrong. The rabbi set up the words the way you're supposed to say, and of course you should not deviate. Mitzvah Hashem will have a shiur on the topic of what is the essence of Shemona Esrei, the essence of benching, and what if you skip words by accident? Good question. But by Megillah, there's no question. You need every single word. So to go ahead and focus from the beginning to end, a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, who could do that? So Rav Yashiv says it has to be the child is capable of doing the mitzvah Megillah Esther. And it's true. If he's not capable of sitting and listening to a reading, then technically you're not chayiv in the chinuch, you're not obligated in the chinuch. The other thing he says is, you can go to shul where they're laning for a very long time because of all the hammons and this and that, and then the kid just cannot focus. That does not exempt you from chinuch and Megillah. Yeruchim, and the Yeshiva in Yeruchim, it could be 2.5 hour reading. Every Haman could be a few minutes of hitting, and then there's dancing and singing in Yeruchim. It's such a levitic yeshiva. So a kid can't focus for 2.5 hours. That's not the litmus test. What if you go to a quiet reading for 22 minutes? They read it, Haman in the beginning they hit, at the end they hit, and that's it. And they go straight through the Kriya in 20 minutes, they're done. And he could focus for 20 minutes, and you're chayiv to do that, to take him to such a Kriya. Fine. Now Chaim Kanievsky says that besides the technical halachot of chinuch, you also have the general idea of introducing a child to the mitzvah, let him have a feel for the mitzvah. So even if he's only going to hear a few prakim. So maybe you know the technical chinuch, but still you want him to get used to the mitzvah. So in terms of the overview of chinuch, so that's just a little bit of a taste of chinuch regarding Megillah Esther, where you have the technical obligation. Once he knows how to focus on the whole mitzvah and do it, then you're chayav. Rav Karelitz adds in that if he could read it, even if he can't focus on listening, so you'd have to teach him that. But of course we know that we're careful to bring our children to hear the Megillah. We should not make a ruckus with them in shul. That's Megillah Esther. But what about general overview of chinuch? How does chinuch work? We always talk about a father, the mother, making sure that the child does the mitzvah because he has a chiyav, chinuch drabanan midifrei sof, and the rabbis obligate us to make sure the kids do the mitzvot. So what does that mean? Before this occurred, before the rabbis came along, so what happened? A child would hit 13, okay, put tefillin on. He'd say, what's tefillin? Okay, bench, benching. Lulav, shake a lulav, what do I do? So I understand that the rabbis make a gezerah, a decree, that you cannot have medicine on Shabbat unless it's a specific case where you're really hurting, for the mishkav, you're falling in bed, you just cannot function. Otherwise, you can't take medicine because people in the Gemara's times were coming to grind the herbs in the backyard. When they weren't feeling well, they'd make their own medicine. The rabbis made a decree. It's very easy to understand the decree that the rabbis made, and it's easy to understand life before the decree, where people were careful not to grind, and hopefully they didn't make a mistake when they had a headache. And if they did, then that was wrong, and therefore the rabbis made a new decree. You can understand life before. What was life before Chinuch from the rabbis, where the rabbi said he has to learn tefillin, he has to learn tzitzit, he has to learn lulav. Make sure you get him a kosher lulav. Well, what was going on beforehand? Kid do nothing as he approached. So the answer is we have to have a proper understanding of how chinuch works. Midoraita from the Torah, we read about this 3-4 times a day. You are teaching your child all day long about the mitzvah. You're learning with him. You're teaching him Torah. And you're telling about tzitzis and about tefillin and about mezuzah and about kol Torah kulam Yetz Hashem. Teaching, learning. So, of course, before the rabbis came and set up the obligation of chinuch, of course the children knew about the mitzvot. And when they came to 13, they knew what these were all about. So what did the rabbis do? The rabbis changed it from just the vishinam tamid, just teaching in abstract, where the child would come with a lot of information. The rabbi said we want him to experience the mitzvot first, before he's bar mitzvah. So therefore we want him to be wearing tzitzit. We want him to be shaking lulav. We want him to be putting on tefillin. Each mitzvah at the right time. Tefillin, it turns out, except for some Sephardic circles, we do maybe a month or 3 months, or not. Some don't even do it at all. They're so nervous about a person that the child cannot wash the tefillin properly. So fine. But the main is the rabbis wanted the children to experience and go through all the halachot first. And that way, when they come to the bar mitzvah age, not only do they know about it intellectually, they know about it experientially as well. And that was a changeover. So we have the right of mitzvah is to teach the children all about the mitzvah. The Rabbanan came along and said, not only teach, but actually go through the mitzvah. Each child with each mitzvah according at the right time. Then we analyzed and we saw how Megillat Esther fits in. It has to be done according to halacha. Chinuch means, like the Ridvar says, you're doing it properly according to the mitzvah. And then you have the Doraita Chinuch, you have the Drabanan Chinuch, and then the child is all ready when he comes to 13 to do the mitzvot. And we paskin, Mishabur paskin, Shulchan Aruch paskin, that the mitzvah of chinuch is to teach the son and to teach the daughter. Even though there were others that weren't so convinced about that, the Aruch Shulchan discusses the issue about the Mishabur and the Shulchan Aruch paskin that's for the daughter as well. And there's one final point. The mitzvah of chinuch, of course, the parent, it starts from the parent, but the Maisa, it's on the child as well, meaning that a child is truly chayav. A child is truly chayav in the mitzvot, to the point that he can actually fulfill a mitzvah for someone else. He could say hamotzi for everyone at the table, and they could just listen to biyotze according to many opinions. Because it's not only a chiv d'Rabbanan on the parent, it's actually a chiv on himself as well. Not everyone agrees in terms of the technicalities, but the basic concept is that a child is truly chayav. So in sum, we have the mitzvah d'oraita chinuch of teaching the children about the Torah and about the mitzvahs. Mitzvah d'Rabbanan is to actually have the child experience each mitzvah according to halacha, as the Ritva says. During those years of chinuch, the child parent is chayav to make sure the child does the mitzvah, and the child himself or herself is chayav in the mitzvah. Defined as a barachim can actually fulfill the mitzvah for others, according to many opinions. And then comes 13, the child, Yetz Hashem, will be fully prepared. Intellectually, he's learned about the mitzvah. He practically has experience of mitzvahs. And then at 13, Yetz Hashem, he's ready to be a full and active member of Klal Yisrael. Shalom.